Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive, brought to you by Vintage Car Chronicles on Spotify. Yes! Welcome everybody. We are going deep into the world of a true legend,
That's right.
the Audi RS2 Avant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those of you who might not be familiar,
Yeah.
this was a high-performance estate car produced in the early 90s,
Yes, it was.
and it was a collaboration between Audi and
a very special
Supra.
car and a very special collaboration.
And that's really what makes this car so intriguing.
Indeed.
It's more than just an Audi.
Yeah.
It's got Porsche DNA woven throughout.
Absolutely.
This was a groundbreaking model.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was the world's fastest estate car at its launch.
It was.
And it was the first car to wear the now iconic RS badge.
Right.
So to kick things off, maybe you could set the scene for us.
Sure.
What was the automotive landscape like back in those days?
Well, you have to remember, this was the early 90s.
Right.
Station wagons, they were seen as purely practical vehicles. Maybe even a little bit boring.
Right.
And then suddenly, out of nowhere, comes this beast of a wagon.
Yeah.
Built in partnership with Porsche, no less.
Exactly. And it wasn't just some, marketing gimmick.
No.
This was a genuine collaboration.
Absolutely.
Porsche's DNA is woven into the very fabric of this car.
Yeah, so to understand how this unlikely partnership came to be,
Right.
we need to look at the state of the automotive world back then.
Okay.
Audi, under the leadership of Ferdinand Piet, was on a mission to transform their image.
Yeah.
They wanted to move away from that safe and sensible reputation and compete head-on with the likes of BMW and Mercedes in the performance market.
Right. So Piech had this vision of a sportier Audi. But why Porsche? Why not develop something in-house?
Well, Audi at the time was fully focused on their core models.
Okay.
And Porsche, believe it or not, was
Yeah.
facing some financial challenges.
Interesting.
So it was a perfect storm for a collaboration.
Wow.
Audi got Porsche's performance expertise, and Porsche got a much-needed lifeline.
So it's amazing how those circumstances aligned to create this automotive icon.
Yeah, it really is.
So we've got this Audi-Porsche partnership.
Yes.
What did Porsche actually bring to the table?
A lot more than just a badge.
Okay.
The RS2 wasn't even built in an Audi factory.
Oh, wow.
Production took place at Porsche's Rosselbau plant in Zuffenhausen. The same facility where they assembled some truly legendary cars like the Mercedes-Benz 500e.
Wow.
And even the Porsche 959.
Talk about sharing hallowed ground.
That's right.
So the RS2 was literally built alongside automotive royalty.
It was.
And you can really see Porsche's influence in the car's design too, can't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The RS2 is a subtle but unmistakable blend of Audi and Porsche aesthetics.
Yeah.
You've got those iconic 911 style side mirrors.
Right.
The 17-inch cup design wheels.
Yeah.
Borrowed straight from the 964. And even the bumpers have a distinct 911 flavor.
And of course, you can't forget that Porsche inscription
Right.
emblazoned on the brake calipers.
Yes.
A bold statement.
It is.
That leaves no doubt about the car's heritage.
It's like they were saying, yes, this is a wagon,
Right.
but don't underestimate it.
Yeah.
But the real magic is under the hood.
Okay, let's talk power.
All right.
What did they do to make this family hauler a true performance machine?
At its heart is Audi's proven 2.2-liter 5-cylinder engine.
Okay.
The same one you'd find in the Audi S2.
Right.
But Porsche took that engine and gave it a serious dose of performance-enhancing magic.
So we're not talking about just a simple tune-up here.
Not at all.
Okay.
They added a larger turbocharger, a more efficient intercooler,
Right.
and a host of other modifications to really unleash the engine's potential.
And what kind of numbers are we talking about here?
The RS2 pumped out a staggering 315 horsepower.
Well,
Put that into perspective.
yeah.
The standard S2 had around 220 horsepower.
Okay, so that's it.
So this was a significant leap,
Yeah.
especially for the early 90s.
It's a serious jump in power.
Yes, it is.
How did that translate into real-world performance?
Imagine hitting 60 miles per hour from a standstill
Okay.
in a mere 4.8 seconds.
Wow.
That was supercar territory back then.
Right.
And this was a station wagon achieving those figures.
Yeah.
Top speed was electronically limited to 166 miles per hour.
Okay.
Which was more than enough to raise eyebrows back in those days.
Yeah, it must have been a wild ride.
It was.
Especially with that classic 5-cylinder turbocharged character.
Oh, absolutely. It had that old school turbo lag where you hit the gas and wait for a moment. And suddenly, boom.
Yeah.
This surge of power would pin you to your seat.
Right.
It wasn't a refined linear power delivery like you get in many modern turbocharged cars.
So,
it was raw, unfiltered, and exhilarating.
I can imagine that sense of anticipation. Followed by that explosive power.
Yeah.
So we've got this Porsche-tuned engine pumping out serious power.
Yes.
But how did they make sure all that power could be put to good use?
That's where Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system came in.
Right.
The RS2 was essentially a rocket on rails.
The legendary Quattro.
That's right.
It's almost synonymous with Audi performance.
Mm-hmm.
How did it work in the RS2?
It wasn't just any Quattro system.
Okay.
The RS2 had a torsion center differential, which automatically distributes torque between the front and rear axles, ensuring maximum grip in any driving situation.
So even with all that power, the cars stayed planted.
Yes.
And predictable.
Very much so.
It wasn't just about going fast in a straight line.
No.
It was about controlling that power and putting it to good use.
Exactly. And if you really needed to lock down the rear wheels, the RS2 even had a manually activated rear differential lock.
Oh, wow.
Which came in handy for particularly challenging conditions.
So this is a car designed to handle anything you threw at it.
Absolutely.
It's incredible how they managed to blend raw power with sophisticated handling. It wasn't just a brute force machine. It had finesse.
Yeah, it was a very well-rounded package.
Absolutely. And speaking of finesse, let's talk about the RS2's visual appeal.
Okay.
It wasn't a shouty in-your-face kind of performance car.
No, it wasn't.
You know, it had this understated elegance that made it even more alluring.
Yes. It perfectly blended the practicality of the Audi 80 Avant with those subtle Porsche-inspired sporty cues.
And who could forget that iconic Nogaro blue paint?
Ah, Nogaro blue.
Yeah.
Definitely the signature color for the RS2.
It's a color that still turns heads today.
Yes, it does.
And it perfectly captured the car's unique character.
Yeah.
Sporty, sophisticated, and just a little bit rebellious.
And if you wanted to take that rebellious spirit even further, you could opt for the striking blue Alcantara interior.
Oh, yeah. Talk about a statement.
Oh, that blue Alcantara interior was something else.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't for the faint of heart.
Right.
But it added another layer of personality to the RS2. It showed that this wasn't just a car, it was a statement. It said, I'm different, I appreciate performance, but I also value style and individuality.
It's those little details, those touches of personality that make the RS2 so special.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a car built to a formula. You know, it had soul.
It did.
And speaking of special, we have to talk about the RS2's legacy and its status as a collector's item today.
Right.
I mean, this wasn't a mass-produced car.
It wasn't.
They only built a little over 2,800 RS2 Avants.
Yeah.
Making it a rare breed from the start.
Right, from the start.
And that rarity, combined with its unique heritage and its performance pedigree, has made it a highly sought-after car for collectors.
Absolutely. Values have been steadily climbing in recent years. And there's a dedicated community of enthusiasts who cherish these cars.
It's a testament to the enduring appeal of the RS2.
It really is.
You know, it's fascinating how some cars transcend their time and become true icons. The RS2 is a perfect example of that.
It wasn't just a car, it was a revolution.
Yeah.
It changed the way people thought about station wagons.
Right.
And it paved the way for an entire lineage of high-performance Audis.
And that lineage is still going strong today with the RS3, the RS4, the RS6, and so on.
That's right.
It's amazing to think that it all started with this seemingly unlikely collaboration between Audi and Porsche.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected pairings can create the most extraordinary results.
I think that's a great point.
But beyond its performance and its legacy, the RS2 also had something else, a certain intangible quality.
Yeah.
That made it truly special.
Right.
It was a car that connected with people on an emotional level. It was a car that made you feel something.
I think that's a perfect way to sum it up.
Yeah.
The Audi RS2 Avant, a car that defied expectations, broke boundaries, and ultimately captured the hearts of enthusiasts around the world.
Absolutely. And its story is a reminder that innovation often comes from challenging conventions and daring to be different.
We've covered a lot of ground already, but there's still so much more to explore.
Yeah, there is.
We'll dive deeper into the RS2's driving experience, its impact on Audi's image, and the people who made this incredible car a reality.
Sounds good.
So stick around.
Yeah.
Because we're just getting started.
We'll be back. You know, it's funny to think about it now, but the idea of a high-performance station wagon wasn't exactly embraced with open arms back in the early 90s.
Really? It seems so natural now, like the perfect blend of practicality and performance.
I know, right?
What were people saying about it back then?
Well, there was definitely a sense of skepticism. You know, some critics wondered if there was even a market for a super-wagon.
A super-wagon?
As some called it. Right. The question, who would want a car that could haul groceries 1 minute and then outrun a Porsche 911 the next?
It's interesting how perceptions change over time.
It is.
Now the RS2 is seen as a pioneer, you know,
Absolutely.
a car that created an entirely new segment in the market.
It did, and what's remarkable is that the RS2 wasn't just about straight-line speed.
Right.
Porsche's influence went far beyond just tuning the engine.
Okay.
They put a lot of effort into refining the car's handling and making it a true driver's car.
So even though it was a collaboration, Porsche made sure the RS2 drove like a proper Porsche.
Absolutely. They took that Audi 80 platform and transformed it into something truly special.
Okay.
They revised the suspension geometry, stiffened the chassis, and even fitted larger anti-roll bars to minimize body roll.
And we talked about those Porsche Source brakes earlier.
Yes.
Those were serious hardware for the time, weren't they?
Oh, they were.
How did they hold up to the task of stopping this powerhouse wagon?
They were phenomenal.
Okay.
Those were the same brakes found on the Porsche 968 Club Sport.
Wow.
Known for its incredible stopping power.
Right.
The RS2 could go from 60 miles per hour to a standstill in a remarkably short distance.
Yeah.
And it did so with incredible stability and control.
That must have given drivers a lot of confidence.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing they could rein in all that power when needed.
Absolutely. And beyond the raw performance numbers, there was a real finesse to the RS2's handling.
Okay.
The steering was incredibly precise. The gearbox was smooth and responsive.
Yeah.
And the whole car felt incredibly planted and balanced.
It sounds like it wasn't just about brute force.
Yeah.
You know, it was a car that you could really enjoy on a winding road.
Absolutely. It was a car that rewarded a skilled driver.
Right.
You could push it hard and it would respond with precision and poise.
So you know what else is interesting?
What's that?
Despite its performance capabilities, the RS2 wasn't a harsh or uncomfortable car to drive.
That's cool.
You mean it wasn't one of those bone-jarring, teeth-rattling sports cars?
Not at all.
Okay.
The suspension, while firm, was surprisingly compliant.
Right.
And those Recaro seats were incredibly supportive and comfortable.
Yeah.
It was a car you could easily drive every day, even on long journeys.
So it really was a grand tour in the truest sense.
Yeah, I think so.
You could load up the family, hit the open road, and still enjoy that thrilling performance when the opportunity arose.
Precisely. It was a car for all occasions.
And let's not forget about that incredible 5-cylinder engine.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it must have sounded amazing.
Oh, it had that distinctive Audi 5-cylinder growl.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it had this unique sound that was both sporty and refined. It wasn't as raucous as some performance engines, but it had this characterful warble that was all its own. It was a car that made you want to keep the revs up just to hear that engine sing.
I'm starting to get a real sense of why the RS2 has achieved such legendary status.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about breaking performance records or boasting impressive specs.
Yeah.
You know, it was about creating a complete driving experience.
It was the whole package.
One that blended performance practicality and a certain understated elegance.
You hit the nail on the head.
I think so.
The RS2 was a car that was greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
It was a testament to the ingenuity of the engineers at both Audi and Porsche, and it set a new standard for what a high-performance station wagon could be.
And that legacy continues to inspire today.
It does.
As more and more manufacturers are realizing that practicality and performance don't have to be mutually exclusive.
It's true. The RS2 paved the way for an entire generation of performance wagons.
Right.
And its influence can still be seen in cars like the Audi RS6 Avant, the Mercedes-AMG E63 Estate, and even the Porsche Panamera Sport Turismo.
It's amazing to think that a car that some initially dismissed as a niche oddity,
I know, right?
would go on to have such a profound impact on the automotive landscape.
It just goes to show that innovation often comes from challenging conventions and daring to be different.
The RS2 was definitely a game changer, and we're still feeling its effects today.
We are.
But beyond its performance and its influence,
Yeah.
the RS2 also had a cultural impact. You know, it became a symbol of a certain lifestyle, a certain attitude.
Absolutely. It appealed to people who appreciated understated performance, who wanted a car that was both capable and stylish.
Right.
It was a car for people who didn't want to shout about their success.
Right.
They just wanted to enjoy it.
It had that sleeper quality, didn't it? It looked like a regular station wagon, but underneath that unassuming exterior was a beast waiting to be unleashed.
Exactly. And that made it even cooler.
Yeah.
It was a car for people who knew, for people who understood.
Speaking of understanding, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the people who actually bought the RS2 back in the day.
Right.
Who were these early adopters?
Well, they were a diverse group, but they all shared a few key traits. They were car enthusiasts who appreciated performance and handling, but they also valued practicality and versatility. They weren't afraid to be different. They embraced the unconventional.
They were pioneers in a way, weren't they?
They were.
They saw the potential in a car that many others dismissed as an oddity.
Absolutely. They were ahead of their time.
And I bet those early RS2 owners had some amazing stories to tell.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I can just imagine them loading up the car for a family road trip.
Right.
Maybe a ski trip to the Alps.
Yeah.
And then when the road opened up, unleashing all that 5-cylinder fury.
It must have been a sight to behold.
It must have been.
An Ogaro blue RS2 carving through the mountain passes.
Yeah.
A family in tow, leaving a trail of envious glances in its wake.
I love that image.
That image perfectly captures the essence of the RS2.
Yeah.
Performance without compromised practicality, without sacrificing excitement.
Right.
It was a car that broke the mold. And in doing so, created something truly special.
And it's a legacy that continues to inspire today.
But beyond its performance and its cultural impact, there's another aspect of the RS2 that we haven't touched on yet. Its impact on Audi as a brand.
Right.
That's an interesting point before the RS2.
Yeah.
Audi was known for well-engineered, reliable cars, but not necessarily for performance.
Right.
How did the RS2 change that perception? It was a bold move for sure.
It was.
It wasn't just about building a fast car.
Yeah.
You know, it was about making a statement.
Exactly. The RS2 was a declaration of intent. It showed the world that Audi was serious about performance, that they were ready to compete with the best in the business.
And it wasn't just talk.
No.
They backed it up with a car that was genuinely thrilling to drive.
Yeah.
A car that could hold its own against some of the most respected sports cars of the era.
And the impact was immediate.
Yeah.
The RS2 put Audi on the map as a performance car manufacturer.
Right.
It changed the perception of the brand, and it laid the foundation for everything that followed.
You know, it's amazing to think that the entire Audi Sport division, with its incredible lineup of RS models,
I know,
can trace its roots back to this one groundbreaking car.
That's right.
It really was a pivotal moment in Audi's history.
It really was a game changer.
And it's a legacy that Ferdinand Pius, the driving force behind the RS2, must have been incredibly proud of.
I'm sure he was.
His vision for a sportier, more performance-oriented Audi was realized with this car.
Absolutely.
And it's a vision that continues to resonate today.
It does.
The RS badge has become synonymous with high performance and cutting-edge technology.
Absolutely. But, you know, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the people who actually bought these cars back in the day.
Right.
Who were the early adopters of the RS2.
Yeah.
What kind of person was drawn to this unique blend of practicality and performance?
Oh, I imagine they were a pretty discerning bunch.
Yes, they were.
You know?
Not your average car buyer.
It wasn't a mainstream car.
No.
And it wasn't cheap either.
You're right. The RS2 appealed to a specific type of buyer.
Okay.
They were car enthusiasts who appreciated the finer points of engineering and performance. But they also needed a car that could handle the demands of everyday life.
Exactly.
There are people who didn't want to compromise.
I mean, they were pioneers in a way, weren't they?
They were.
You know, they embraced a concept that many others just didn't understand at the time.
Absolutely. They saw the potential in a car that many others dismissed as an oddity.
Right.
They were the ones who understood that practicality and performance didn't have to be mutually exclusive.
And I bet those early RS2 owners have some amazing stories to tell.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I can just picture them, loading up the car for a family vacation,
right.
maybe a ski trip to the Alps.
Yeah.
And then when the opportunity arose,
yeah.
unleashing all that 5-cylinder fury on those winding mountain roads.
What a sight that must have been.
Must have been something else.
A Nogaro blue RS2 carving through the Alps.
Yeah.
With a family in tow, leaving a trail of envious glances in its wake.
That's a great image.
It's an image that perfectly captures the spirit of the car.
Mm-hmm.
Performance and practicality seamlessly intertwined.
Yeah, the RS2 is a car that could do it all.
It really was.
It was a statement of individuality, a testament to engineering excellence,
Mm-hmm.
and above all, a car that was truly enjoyable to drive.
And that's why it continues to resonate with enthusiasts today.
Absolutely.
You know, it's a car that defied expectations.
It did.
Broke the mold, and ultimately created something truly special.
It's a reminder that innovation often comes from the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the best ideas are the ones that challenge the status quo.
Well said. So to all those listening out there,
yes,
if you ever get the chance to experience an Audi RS2 Avant firsthand, don't hesitate.
Do it.
It's a car that will leave a lasting impression.
You won't regret it.
And on that note, a huge thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
Into the world of the Audi RS2 Avant. We hope you enjoyed the ride.
We certainly did.
Don't forget to tune in to Vintage Car Chronicles daily on Spotify for more deep dives into the fascinating world of classic cars. We'll be back soon with another episode. So until then, keep the passion for cars alive.